Hi everybody. Today for Makeup, Murder, and Mystery, we're going to be talking about the Amy Carnivale story. Amy Carnivale was just a 14-year-old girl from Beverly Hills, Massachusetts. Amy was known to be a shy girl, not very popular, more on the downside. The next person that we have in this story is Jamie Fuller. He was a 16-year-old jock from Beverly Hills, Massachusetts. Everybody said that, if you were able to get in Jamie's company, you were lucky. He was very popular, charismatic, just basically an overall sociopath. He made you think that he was something that he is not. But little did everybody know is that Jamie also had a very dark side to him. So one day, while Amy was out with a few of her friends at a local restaurant, Jamie decided he was going to come up to her and ask her out. Now, Jamie being an older boy, like I once said, in the school is the most popular boy, a jock, this made Amy excited. So of course she's like, I can't turn this down. I'm a nobody in a sense. I have to take this. So she accepts. And from that point forward, things between Amy and Jamie start moving at a pretty rapid rate. They start spending every moment together. Their friends are just thinking that they're puppy love, as we would say in high school. They're thinking everything is just fine between Jamie and Amy until they start to notice that things aren't. Jamie had it pretty known that there were pretty much rules for dating him. The number one rule being there was no boyfriends allowed. So once Amy started disobeying Jamie's rules, she learned really quick. That's just something you do not do. So one day, Amy decides she is going to go to the nearby lake with some friends, some of them being guy friends. Of course, Amy is not thinking nothing of it because these guys have been literally just her friends for years. But while she's out doing this, Jamie is at home telling his friends, I'm gonna kill her. This is just outrageous. Like, he was downright upset that she was with guy friends and girlfriends. So Jamie decides he is going to storm out to the lake and just embarrass Amy, basically. He was just so upset that, once again, she had guy friends. Goes out to the lake and starts to antagonize Amy and pull her to the side and just argue with her. It gets to the point where he actually gets physical with Amy, but nobody sees, and he hurries up and shushes her before any of her friends hear the disturbance and look over. So when the friends look over, they just see a caring Jamie looking out for Amy, thinking that they're in love, and they just, quote, can't keep their hands off each other. So as things start going further, Amy's friends start to realize that this relationship is not all that they have caked it up to be. That is actually very, very toxic and unsafe for Amy. Some of you may be thinking like, oh, she's only 14. Where's her parents? Amy's dad is not very much mentioned in her story, but her mom is. And it was said that her mom was just like one of those parents who really didn't care to be all in her child's business. Crazy, right? At the age of 14, a girl is going through changes. You figured that's when they need their parents the most. But to each its own. So it was said that Amy's mom was just pretty much out on the dating scene, doing her own thing, that she would check in with Amy every now and again. But basically, Amy was not her first priority. Also, she did know that Amy was dating Jamie. But as I said, he put on a very good facade that he was just a gentle, caring boy that everyone loved. But that was far from true. So Amy's friend said at this point, Amy starts to become more reserved from them, can't hang with them as much, answer the phone. She doesn't have much time for them. The only person she has time for is Jamie, which was a huge red flag because they said if you knew Amy, you knew that she was all about her friends per se. She loved her friends, especially her best friend. So again, they're in high school and they have a school dance coming up. So everybody's asking Amy, are you going? Are you going? And Jamie's like, no, we're not going to this dance. But at this point, Amy has started to become slightly rebellious against Jamie. She has seen her mom treated like this by so many men. She's just like, this will not be me. She always encouraged her mom to have a backbone and just really stand up to these men. So Amy was starting not to like the way Jamie was treating her at all. So Amy just thinks this is a typical teenage relationship and that she's stating her independence, but little does she know, Jamie is telling his friends, ooh, I'm gonna kill her. Ooh, I hate that bee. Ooh, that bee thinks she's doing this and that. He's just really ticked off at this point that she is not obeying him how she used to. So the school dance comes. Amy is at the dance talking to one of her guy friends, and this really ticks Jamie off. So he decides to grab her by the hand and yank her out the school dance, not knowing all her friends are following them outside. So Amy and Jamie are arguing on the way outside about what took place in the dance. And Jamie pretty much gets really ticked off and smacks Amy, not knowing her friends are behind them. So Amy's best friend is like, you're not going with him. He hits you. We've been knowing something that's going on for a long time. We're not allowing you to go with him. But Amy's like, he loves me. I'm going anyways. So Amy gets in the car and leaves with Jamie. But after tonight, Amy also decides the public humiliation is enough and she's cutting things off with Jamie. Well, so she thought. So she cuts things off with Jamie, and this whole time he's just completely irate and planning how he can get Amy all to himself and ultimately in her life. Plans to ask Amy for a haircut because Amy wanted to be a hairstylist when she grew up and was known for doing all her family and friends' hair. Also, he calls Amy and says, hey Amy, I know we're just friends right now, but could you possibly give me that haircut we were talking about? Her thinking nothing of it, just thinking they're about to talk stuff over like they always do. And she's gonna give him a haircut. She's like, yes. So mind you, Jamie is at his house with 3 of his friends, I believe his best friend and 2 other friends, and they know he's about to try to end her life. But they stick around because they're all messed up in the head. So she cuts his hair and he's like, hey, let's go for a walk in the woods. I would have said no because he's already beat me up and it's a dark outside, so why are we going in the woods? But okay. So all of them proceed to go out in the woods and Amy and Jamie walk off further. They get to talking. He asked Amy, can I just get one last hug, one last kiss? She's like, Jamie, no, let's just leave. This makes Jamie completely irate. He goes nuts. He pulls out a knife. Amy starts fighting, trying to get away. Mind you, he had showed his friends this knife that he was going to use to end her life. And for some reason, they just thought it was so cool and funny. He begins to stab her through the stomach and various of other places. And Amy is still fighting. She decides to try to take off and run. Jamie then grabs her by the hair from the back and slits her throat. I don't know how, but she is still fighting at this point, but she falls to the ground. And she says, "Jamie, I love you." And this completely just makes him lose it. He figured it would make him stop, but it didn't. He begins to just completely stomp her all the way out, just completely out of his mind. He finally stops stomping her and leaves, and he goes back to his friends with the bloody knife and says, "It's done." They all laugh and walk back to the friend's house. They start drinking a glass of Kool-Aid, and he tells his friend, "This Kool-Aid looks just like her blood." Like, what kind of joke is that? I would have been like, "Boy, you gotta go." So then he somehow persuades his friends, like, "You guys gotta go back with me to get rid of the body. And if you guys don't, I'll kill you too." And they were scared of him, and they went and did it with him. They grab a tarp, some cinder blocks, and some ropes, and they go back to the woods to Amy's poor lifeless body, wrap it up in the tarp, take it on a boat into the middle of the lake, tie the ropes and cinder blocks around it, and push her in the water. Like, you already brutally murdered her. Why do you have to go to these lengths? Like, it's crazy. After they dispose of her, everybody goes home and goes their separate ways, and days go on, and there is many search parties, which Jamie took part of, to find Amy. Her best friend knew something was up, but his mother put full trust into Jamie that he had nothing to do with this, and that he was just as concerned and worried as everybody else. Truth is, he wasn't. Police receive an anonymous call telling them where Amy's body can be found. They need to ask the caller, "Well, how do you know this information? Can we have a name in case we need to call you back?" He hangs up the phone. This is Jamie's best friend. He proceeds to leave the payphone, but the police track the call and catch him on camera making the call. So they go arrest him and bring him downtown for questioning. They ask the friend, like, "Well, how do you know all this? Did you help? How do you know all this information?" He says, "Me and a couple other guys were present, but no, we did not take part in killing her, but we did help dispose of her body," which is still a crime. So the police goes and checks the location to make sure he wasn't just giving some fuddy-dud confession, just being a sick teenager that obviously were around that Massachusetts at that time. They go out onto the water and they recover Amy's body. I will drop a picture. The best friend was not arrested for getting help dispose of Amy's body. He was arrested for not reporting the crime, which he did later on, but he didn't report it at the time that it was happening. Let me clear that up. Jamie was sentenced to a life sentence, and his friend was just sentenced to a couple months and was ultimately released from prison and got to graduate, do prom, all those things you do growing up as a high school student. Amy's parents still wonder to this day if this could have been prevented if one of her friends just would have said something. But as well as the mother, she should have been paying attention to her 14-year-old daughter that was dating an older guy. So when they go to court, the judge tells all the friends and family, when somebody tells you that they're gonna hurt somebody, especially kill somebody, you need to take that very seriously. Even if it is just a joke, always report it, because things like this could have been prevented from when you guys seen the first bruise, the first smack, the first sign of violence between the two. Jamie's friend said, well, he said it to us, but we didn't take it serious. You know, some teenagers just joke like that. But you guys not taking it serious and letting some people joke like that cost this young 14-year-old girl her life. So glad that Amy got her justice from the sick monster that she thought loved her. And I'm glad the rest of those kids learned a lesson, basically. And if you want to learn more about this story, you can also watch the movie that was based on this story on Lifetime in 1999 called No One Would Tell. Here's the final look. What do you guys think?